Hi there, welcome to Unscripted with me, Grace. Thank you so much, as always, for making time for us. Now, I want to begin the show with a quote, as I love to do. It says, if your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and become more, then you are a leader. And I think that describes our guest today. Lorna Irungu is a force to reckon with. She has championed women's rights and the youth, and she's talked about her health journey, which has been a point of bravery and courage from her. So please stay right where you are. Unscripted is about to begin. Let's spend some time with Lorna. Tonight's episode is a tribute to a life well lived, a life that impacted many. To the lady who challenged the status quo, who loved deeply, danced often, and inspired greatly. Lorna Irungu, may your fighting spirit forever live on. Hi there, welcome to Unscripted. Thank you so much for making time for us. I'm excited about this show because with me is a guest I have looked up to for years. I have watched you on TV. Here I am, still trying to do this thing. So Lorna, welcome to Unscripted.
Thank you.
So let's start with that. I already mentioned I knew you from TV. How did that come to be? Was it something you always wanted to do? How did it happen?
So television for me was something that I wanted to do, but from a news side. Okay. But I actually got into hosting a show through theater.
So you were on the stage?
I was on the stage. I was at Phoenix. I was on stage. I had been on stage for a while. And Jimmy Gathu used to come, yes, and used to come. And he watched me in a really serious production and was like, you should come and do TV. So I'm like, yeah, but...
is it news? Is it an opening for
yeah,
news?
Is it news? And he's like, no, you should be my co-host. I was like, really? Doing what? He's like, sure. And I was like,
no thanks.
Not no thanks, because at that point it was a way in.
Okay.
But it was also like really like
you never pictured
yourself. You have a picture in yourself and you're like, what does that look like? And I did go in for the screen test and I failed.
Oh really?
Yeah. I went in and they were like, no, she can't do TV.
Hiya. So how did you end up getting on air?
So Jimmy was like, what do you mean she failed? I'm like, there's no way she failed. Did you guys see her? Like, that was his argument. So he said that you guys did it wrong. And he was very insistent, to be honest. This was all Jimmy. It's all James, as I call him. This is all James. So then he said, why don't we he's like, let's do this. Let's do a show together.
I see.
As a screen test.
Got it.
But when we did it, they aired it. So like our demo automatically went on air.
Oh, wow.
And the response was great. And he's like, I told you guys you could do TV.
Look at you. And that's how it happened?
That's how it happened.
Oh, wow.
That's exactly how it happened.
And then for a period, Lorna left and we didn't see you or hear from you. What happened and where did you go?
So, I mean, really early on, I battled with health issues. And I have never been shy to talk about those because when it happened, I was on television and I always thought about being authentic and just saying, this is who I am and this is what's happening. So I was diagnosed with lupus at a fairly, like my early 20s. And lupus, for those who may not know, is an autoimmune condition. And it is a condition where your immune system doesn't quite recognize your own body and fights it. And in doing that, can attack various systems. So either cardiac, nervous, kidney, kind of like the system that really kind of works. For me, it attacked my kidneys. And that led to me having a kidney failure, which then led to me having a kidney transplant. So my first kidney transplant was in 1998, and I had kidney failure in 1997. And so for that period of time, and was very public about it and went out and really shared what my battle and my story was. And over the last 20 odd years, I have ended up having 3 other transplants that have been necessitated by various complications along the way. My last one being in 2008. And because of that, initially what it was that when I did get my first transplant, I did come back on television for a while, and then I pulled off. And the other was really necessitated by people making decisions is that sometimes people look at you and see you as a disease. And so there was a pro and a con to me sharing my story. For me, the pro was in sharing my story, I was able to break the silence as to people tend to fall sick and then never say anything, and then just leave kind of people wondering. I felt as part of the relationship I had created with an audience and people cared about me. I wanted
takes you back to authenticity.
Exactly.
Let's just be real.
This is what's happening in my life and this is what's going on. But also then I became a single story and people decided to just see me for my sickness. And there were decisions and people would be like, oh, but are you sure? Isn't she sick? You know, or how are you going to cope with the workload? And so I got a lot of that.
How did that make you feel, or what did that do?
It was frustrating. It was really frustrating, and it also just made you wonder, begin to understand why people don't share.
We're now facing a world pandemic, and we all must be super careful. Wear our masks. Our team have their masks. We have our sanitizers. So for you, naturally, you have to be extra careful with your health because it's about your immune system. So in this season, and I ask this for yourself and for those at home who maybe not really, it's not hit home that COVID is here.
Oh, yes.
And there are those who are suffering pre-existing conditions. How, if we have a family member, how do we look out for them? What do they need to do? So as Lorna, what are you doing to be extra, I guess, cautious in this period?
So this has been a really interesting time for me. At the beginning of the year, I was a bit in and out of hospital with some challenges, and so had already kind of started being very conscious of who's around me and what it is I can get. Now that's something that's been at the back of my mind. I've just not as forward as it is right now. So a couple of things for me that I'm doing and things that conversations that have happened. One, my husband's background is in public health, so that has been a blessing. Yeah, trust me, it helps. And having worked, he'd worked quite extensively with HIV, tuberculosis, malaria. So for us as a unit, we were very clear and we took precaution really early. And then the people around me, because I'm the weakest link. And I think that's kind of the things that you have to be conscious about, and the reason why this whole campaign is really about protect yourself and protect others is, for me, it's the people around me that have to be extra cautious. So we've not been going out and about, and it's for me, my daughter who's 12 is just like, you can't go on play date, honey. I'm sorry, you can't go visit people. I'm sorry, you have to do. How is she taking it? She's been a trooper. Good. She's really been a trooper. From having whoever's coming in, you have to wear a mask, you have sanitize. Those are the things that we really put in place. But making sure that the people around me know and are extra cautious. We wipe down surfaces that are touched regularly. I have hand wash at my gate. Everything that comes in needs to be wiped down and washed down with soap. Of course. No hugs, no kisses, nothing, right? The people who tend to come, who for me is really my immediate family. So it's my brother, it's my sister-in-law. Those are kind of like the only other people I'm interacting with, maintaining social distance. So part of the thing is that the rules that work everywhere, the rules that have been put in place make sense. I think we just have to learn to adjust to them. So
the new normal, as we're calling it.
Yes, and for me, it's just like, okay, so this is what we have to do. And because I have had to go through a period where, you know, when you've had a transplant, there's like 2 weeks where you have to be super careful. For me, after my last transplant for 3 months, I was on a specific diet. I couldn't eat raw vegetables. I couldn't eat salads or fruits from anywhere. I couldn't eat raw fruit for a while. So it's just remembering what some of those things are.
I see.
So I haven't done anything that has not been publicly asked by anyone. I have just been really strict about adhering to those rules.
I see.
And that's all that we've had to do. And I think for people living with people with pre-existing conditions, whether it's someone with hypertension, and I think not understanding what a pre-existing condition is, it's anything that your body is already struggling to fight with, that then if you add something else is a bigger battle. And if you understand how the virus works, it shuts down those systems and forces your body not to be able to fight back. So just take care and be responsible is what it is.
Think about the next person.
Think about the next person, even if you're fine.
Yeah. How are you staying positive in this season?
I have spent time talking to friends.
Okay.
We've shared our fears, our good days and our bad days.
Good.
I didn't realize that actually Zoom conversations and seeing people can...
It goes a long way.
It does go a long way. And that has really kept me positive during this time. It's helped to be like, this is what I'm thinking, and to have somebody say, so am I. And so it's not just me, and you're not alone in this period. So I've tried to keep as engaged as I can. It's a bit difficult because I'm a hugger. I want to hug. I want to touch people.
Person.
I'm a touch person. That's my language of love, is touch.
I see.
So not being able to have any physical contact with people, not being able to hug people, it's difficult.
Oh.
Yeah. So my poor child and my husband were like, again.
I was going to ask you, what about your husband and child?
Yeah, this one's okay. So
okay,
that's how they're always like, again? Like, yes.
Mom, you want to hug me again?
Yes.
Hold my hand again?
Yeah. Just come. Just hug. So I'm realizing that I'm doing that a lot more.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's how we end part 1. On that note, stay right there. Go wash your hands and come back. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us, Lorna. Thank you for coming here and just... yeah, I need this energy in the room. I like your energy and sharing your story.
No worries.
Thank you for being open and honest about your journey. So if I could ask, what is the one lesson or what have you learned about yourself through your health journey? What has it brought out about you?
So a couple of years ago, I gave a talk.
Okay.
I was starting to do the TED Talk guys came to Kenya and I did a mini
mini
TED Talk for them, and I think some of the lessons that I've learned around my health have remained.
Okay.
And I categorize them. Like, one, there is always whatever you're going through.
Yeah.
At that particular time, any particular time in your life, whether you see it for what it is or whether you question it, it's happening for a reason.
That's true.
And a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. And so it's always, what is the lesson here for me? Now, be very clear.
I like that. Even like pause. A crisis is a terrible thing to waste.
It's a terrible thing to waste.
Even in this time of COVID?
Even in
Please
this time.
remember that. Yeah.
Even in this time, it's a terrible thing to waste. And the thing about it is the lesson may not be clear when you're in it, which is why reflection is important and looking at it and understanding it. So I'm a firm believer in that.
Okay.
And through my health crisis, it has taught me a lot about myself as an individual.
Yeah.
About the things I value and the people I value,
okay,
and what's important. So I have a medical team who I have a huge respect for.
Okay.
I also learned that I think it's very important that you choose people to take care of your health who hear you when you say you're in pain, who hear you when you say you are unhappy, who hear you when you say, this is not working for me. So one, get a medical team that hear you. Because as we talked about grief, how you feel or when you're going through something, it's really important that someone's able to take you through that.
Yeah.
And so one, medical team, really important to get people who surround you. My family are my warriors. My family have always kind of gathered together around me. I am utterly blessed and spoiled. 100% spoiled. My sister kind of knows all my doctor's appointments.
They walked the journey with you.
They walked that journey with me. My dad was my first donor. My sister was my second donor. My brother was my third donor.
Wow.
And so for me, they are intricately part of who I am.
Yeah.
I then had the utmost pleasure and privilege to meet someone, be in a relationship with someone, and get married to somebody who has that same kind of value system, and who is more than, you know, like, takes that friendship, adds a medical part, and just adds a bar above that. And at some point in my life, I didn't think that was possible. I didn't think that that was something that was going to happen for me. But here is somebody who, you know, can have a proper, robust conversation, who we discuss these things with, who will go out of his way. My last transplant, we were dating when I felt sick. He's the one who got hold of, he's the one who found me the doctors. He's the one who found the hospital. He's the one who, you know, leverages his network to be able to find out what are the possibilities. So he's always like, whatever happens, we can deal with this. And for me, being in a relationship with someone who was with me and saw a future at the time when I possibly at some point didn't even think I had a future for myself, was powerful. And so, you know, I think when you say you're going to be someone through thick and thin, and when you're saying these vows, a lot of times, for better or for worse, what does that actually mean?
Exactly.
How much of that has been tested? And he was with me during some really, really, really dark periods of time. Yes. I was in ICU for 3 weeks. I was out of it. I was in a coma. Right? Wow. He was there by my bedside. He didn't have to be. And I had been in relationships, and some relationships before, where people had walked away or had said, I cannot be with you because I do not see a future with you.
They would tell you that to your face?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Oh, yes. And so for me, here is somebody, and those are the things you learn, is that at that point you can think, right, you know, like, you're right, like, there is no future.
And you believe it.
And you believe it.
Wow.
And you believe it.
Yeah.
And so that is the other thing, that this opportunity is also for me. What do you hear? Who speaks over your life?
Yep.
What do they say, and what do you take in?
It's powerful.
From doctors who are like, oh, we're not sure, to friends, to family. So for me, that there's always been life spoken into my life.
Amen.
And surrounding myself with people like that. So that's the other thing that I learned.
So before even you continue, so would you say, because I felt like I was going to ask you, because you mentioned before how you didn't see a future for yourself. So how did you end up having a mind shift and eventually sort of bringing this into your life, where you have a supportive partner who is here with you now, married, with a child, and yet before you didn't see that for yourself? How did that come to be?
I think the shift that begins to happen when, and it doesn't happen immediately, and that's a really important thing to recognize, that it doesn't happen immediately. You start questioning and asking yourself the question that says, what is this person bringing into my life?
Got it.
And very quickly surrounding yourself with people who also become aware of that and spot that for you. So my friends are the other people who
played a big role,
who have played a really critical role in speaking life into my life.
Got it.
And surrounding me and just being like, yeah, no, like, don't listen. Like, this is not the path that you're going to take. Okay. And those people are consistent, and they've been there for a long time. They're like the people who've known me throughout everything, who are behind the scenes in some ways, but they just make you aware of it. And I think, and maybe as women, sometimes or actually, no, not as women. I think as human beings, we need to be needed. Or you want to be in a place where, you know, there's reciprocity.
Yes.
I like you, you like me.
We all want that.
We all want that for our lives, right? So it's like work. And so for me, it was quickly realizing that if you can't handle the one day I'm not feeling well, you will not be able to handle a season of me not feeling well. And slowly starting to remove yourself from those situations and just starting to demand more for yourself.
Good job.
As an individual, and asking yourself, what is it that you want? So in the same way that question was asked, what do I want from a doctor? It's what you want from a relationship. But I think a lot of times we don't give ourselves enough time to kind of get to know people and kind of put out there. So that was the one advantage of me being sick. Like, you couldn't hide what I'm going through. So you know, if you're coming into this, you know
what you're getting into.
You know what you're getting into. And it's good, but you also then begin to realize that people only like you when you're at your best. When you look proper, when you look together, that's when people like you.
Exactly.
And the minute there's cracks in that, or you show something else, and people are like, oh, there's a lot to deal with, right? So
the reality
kind of sinks in, yes. And so I reached a point where I was very ready to let go. Okay. I was constantly ready to let go. And so, for example, the relationship with my husband, with Edwin, he was just like, okay, so is that it? I'm like, yeah, so there's this. It's like, okay, so when it comes, we'll deal with it. And I thought, all right, this is interesting. This is different.
Good.
Let's see. And then when I got sick, just lived up to his expectations. So you and I were just discussing it at the break. When people show you who they are the first time, believe them. Yeah.
As we finish up, I'm curious to know, what do you do for fun?
Fun?
Yeah.
Oh, so I read. Does that sound? Is that a fun activity?
Hey, in Lorna's category, that is fun.
Is it? I don't know.
It depends on your personality. I mean, I'm a loner, so I enjoy reading. So I guess it depends on your personality.
So I'm not. So the thing that I've discovered is like, I'm an active introvert. Does that make sense?
Explain. An introvert who likes to go for runs or keep
No,
busy?
not necessarily that. I think people consistently think that because you're in a certain way or you're in television, that you really just enjoy crowds and people. I don't.
Neither do I.
I don't.
It's a facade. I guess that's why we enjoy being in front of the camera. But
it's a job.
Exactly.
Like I kept telling people, it's a job.
You switch it on and off.
I switch it on and switch it off. So I do enjoy traveling.
Oh, great.
I really enjoy traveling. I enjoy being outdoors.
Okay.
I haven't been able to do a lot of that, and I would love to spend a lot more time being outdoors. Okay. Just walks. I don't enjoy the heat as much. I'm not a heat person, so I don't enjoy. I don't like being sweaty, and it's a struggle. It's really a struggle. I love swimming.
Okay.
I love being in water. It's a bit of a contradiction on those two, because you don't enjoy the heat, but you like being in water.
Right. But I get it. I'm the same. Yet we enjoy the coast.
Yeah.
I can, find a way to be cool in the water. So
yeah, but I don't enjoy the coast. I don't enjoy the heat. No, not the heat. I don't like the heat.
With all the AC and
You see, the AC, that's a problem. So I'd like to be outside in a place with a cool breeze.
Got it.
Not too hot.
Okay.
Right. But that's another thing. I enjoy cooking.
Oh, good. Okay.
Not baking.
It's fine.
Cooking.
It's fine.
Yes, I don't enjoy baking. I love cooking. I love hosting.
So at least
small people.
Okay. At least even though in this season it's hard to travel and be in the outdoors, there's something you can cook. You're cooking for the family now.
Yes.
Trying out recipes.
Yes. Every once in a while there's mommy. Mommy's in the kitchen to kind of figure out what's happening.
Okay.
And I try and take a walk. My daughter and I try and take a walk. But it's her way of getting mommy to at least take a walk. And she's like, Mommy, you walk too slowly.
Keep up, Mom.
This is not exercise. This is just me trying to make sure that you get something done.
That you're stretching your legs.
Yes, that's what she says. She's like, Mommy, it's too slow. It's not. You're not sweating.
You're not sweating.
Like, the purpose is not to sweat, honey. It's just to get some exercise and get my heart. And she's like, okay,
your heart
fine,
pumping.
Fine.
Let's take a short break now. We'll come back and I guess talk to Lorna about your career journey, and just the force that you are. So stay right there. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Unscripted. Before the break, we hinted at just having a conversation about your career journey. And what I know about you is you've been very vocal about female issues and just issues affecting every one of us, and just regular Kenyans or the youth. What infuriates you when you look at the world now, when you look at Kenya now and what's happening? What upsets you?
What upsets me more than anything is, I think we have been, as a general populace, we have been beaten down for so long that we believe that this is the best that we can be. And it isn't. we have the ability to do so much better for ourselves.
Indeed.
We have the ability to be better. And it's not happening. And the people who bear the brunt of it are the people who cannot afford to bear the brunt of it. If we look at the socioeconomic status, if we look at the levels of poverty, if we look at youth unemployment, if we look at the people who are really struggling to just put a meal on the table on a regular basis, and ask ourselves, the people we have elected to ensure that these people have, and the disparity between the two, what are we talking about? Exactly. Unfortunately, what you begin to figure out is that with a broken system, you cannot isolate yourself. A couple of years ago when the doctors were on strike, I joined them. And I remember being there and someone asked, oh, but why would you go? Wouldn't you go to a private hospital? Don't you have insurance? And I said, then that mentality of privatizing public, of us privatizing all public issues becomes a challenge, right?
Exactly.
Because if you and I were in an accident tomorrow, on our way home, is someone going to take you to the closest private hospital, or are they going to take you to the closest public hospital?
Closest public hospital.
And so for me,
also accountability is everything.
Exactly.
As much as yes, think about Lorna, maybe Lorna can think about the next person.
Exactly. I said, my mother is up country, my cousins, my uncle. So maybe I can make a choice, but I also recognize that at the time when you cannot make a choice for yourself due to a circumstance, somebody else makes that decision for you.
That's true.
And so those are the things that frustrate me about where we are as a country.
But I like that you brought that out, communication and putting that stuff together. And 2 years ago, we saw you take up a big post, taking over Gina Dean Group as the MD.
Yes.
First of all, how was that moment? And coming off the top of, you know, Gina Dean running that for years, and then here you are, and that's a huge responsibility and quite an honor. How was that experience? And 2 years later, you told me, oh, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yes.
So what now? What's happening now?
So I think first for me,
and congratulations.
Thank you.
Even though now it's in the past.
It's in the past,
congratulations.
I know. I think for me, Gina was always someone I looked up to. And I had interacted with her through various different things throughout her work cycle, and we had crossed paths. And I always thought, you know, when you looked at what Gina Dean Communications was doing and kind of the rise and the growth of it, I was just like, wow. First and foremost, my mom ran a business, so I know how hard it is as a woman to run a formidable business. And then she was like the first PR agency. Like there was advertising, but she was very clear, very clear. And so about 2016, I got a word at this fellowship that meant I was going to go spend a couple of weeks in the US. And I wanted to focus on women in leadership and politics and kind of what the journey is like. And so she was one of the women I wanted to speak to before I embarked on the fellowship. And going back to saying, what is it about here? I remember sitting with her and saying, I want to just chat with you if you have the time. As I go out, I just kind of want to understand what your journey has been, so that almost understanding what I should be asking these women who I'm hoping to meet.
Oh, wow. So you just reached out?
I reached out.
Look at that.
And she's like, of course, call me. What is this? We had interactions, but we hadn't had a long, proper conversation. And I remember being like, okay, we're going to do this. It's half an hour. You've given me your time. Really grateful. This is what I want. 2.5 hours later, chatting. And she was really generous in her time. A trait I discovered that is really who she is. And I went on my fellowship, and she said, you need to tell me what your experience was when you come back. And when I got back, we caught up. And the first thing she told me, she's like, Kenya is small for you. I need you to expand your mind. Like, just stop doing these small things. Like, think of what you kind of
can offer.
I want you to think, because I was like, there's some stuff happening in Ghana. I mean, she's like, open up. Like, I aspire for more. And we started chatting about what we could do. And at that point, there's a conversation about how do we support women in leadership? What are the things that women need to do? We're coming up to an election, and I was like, I'm frustrated. How do we support women? And so we started chatting, trying to figure out what are the opportunities that can come up? How do we support this? What are the things that we should be thinking about? And I was just watching her being like, wow. And so we started having these conversations, and she's like, I've been running this business for this long. I've built this. I had a really clear plan. So in those conversations, I asked her, I wondered, so what's your plan? What do you kind of want to do? And she's like, well, I think there comes a time when you build a business enough that it has value and you should be able to sell it. Okay. And that's what I would like for this business. Okay. And I was like, wow. I said, but it has your name. And she says, yes, but it's a brand. It's not just my name. Oh, it's a brand.
Look at that.
Yeah. And I was like, okay.
All right.
Now. If you say so, ma'am. and so we started talking. She's like, I think you should come work for me. And dilly-dally, signed my contract, and then she's like, okay. It's done. And then she came and said, it's like, so, you know what your first project is? I'm like, what? She's like, President Obama's coming to Kenya.
Oh, wow, like, that was your first project?
I was like, yes. I was like, okay. You've got jokes. You've got, thank you.
Throwing the deep end.
She's like, yeah, well, this is our first project together. And that
amazing,
was,
Lorna.
Yes, and that was actually how we got into it. And the 2 years was really a journey when we did know there was a potential partner on board.
So as we wrap up, what can you tell women who are in leadership, want to get into leadership at some point? What is the reality of being in positions of leadership, and what tips of the trade can you give?
I think women intuitively lead in very many spaces that you just do not necessarily consider it leadership because it's expected of you. Running households is a leadership role. Juggling those is a leadership role. Whether you're single, married or not, I think we constantly are managing different aspects of expectations, which is what leadership is about. Yeah. I think that's one. I think on the second thing for me that I've learned and have come to appreciate about leadership is it's a very lonely, as a leader now, there's a difference between being a manager, where there's tools and things, and being a leader. And leaders look at you. As a leader, you are expected to either inspire, set a tone, kind of figure out the direction of things to be able to do. Chart a path, but it's not, you have to see people as people. That's true. If you're leading people and teams, and not just as numbers on a scale. And so what do you need to do to get the best out of people? Why should anyone follow you? But a lot of times I think we've allowed society to define ourselves by positions. So if you're no longer this person, who are you? And the thing about leadership is it shouldn't be about the job. It should be about you, and that you can fit into these different roles and still be able to do something. So I always say in a society that is really big on labels and titles, don't lose yourself. Remember who you are and what you stand for, because that's a quality that you will take into whatever position that you have to go into tomorrow.
Preach. Preach. What next for Lorna?
I'm more content to just do the things that really matter, and take those one day at a time. No rush. I owe no one anything. I'm not trying to live up to anyone else's expectations apart from the ones that I'm setting for myself. Continue to try and be as honest as I can. And really just be a good global citizen.
Bless you.
Whatever that looks like on a day-to-day basis.
I love that, doing what matters. I truly believe that to the depths of me, because you end up, like, it's not this thing of ticking boxes.
No.
In fact, it really reduces your list of things to do if you just do what matters.
Yes.
And it serves you and others.
And I have a mantra that I've lived with for such a long time, and it's really simple. It's like, God makes one request of his children: do the best with what you have today. Not tomorrow.
Today.
Today and now. And so really trying to pull that back in and ask what's expected of me today.
I love that. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lorna. Thank you for making time for us. I'm glad to see you doing well. You're glowing and beaming, and we wish you all the very best. Even in this season of uncertainty, may you just continue thriving.
Thank you, and thank you for the work that you're doing.
Oh, bless.
I think it's really important that you have cut a space for yourself to use your voice to do good.
Oh, bless. I don't even think of it that way, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you for watching. I hope this conversation has served you as much as it has me. Maybe it's just me here who's all in awe and amazed, but thank you so much for taking the time to watch. And your feedback, we appreciate it always. Please reach to us. Our details are right below. But until next week, stay positive, stay safe, and good night, and God bless. Bye.